Okay, the next sort of question we want to do is a medium level difficulty, and it's sine theta equals to minus a half for theta is an element of minus 2 pi to 2 pi. Okay, so this thing here is like a range over which we're seeking the answers. Okay. Now to do a question like this, it's actually really similar to the easy question that we just did. Okay, so we do the same method. We get the basic angle from the formula sheet is pi on 6. We ask in which quadrant is sine negative. We did it in the previous question. Sine is negative in quadrants 3 and 4. Okay, so therefore our two solutions, our first two solutions are pi plus pi on 6 and 2 pi minus pi on 6. And what we did last time, so we got 7 pi on 6 and 11 pi on 6. Now, you'll notice that I've left a lot of space for writing this, because what we need to do now is we need to add and subtract 2 pi to each of these solutions to fill up every solution in the range. Okay, so what we need to do, I'll say that again in a different way. We need to do this leapfrog process by which we take 7 pi on 6 and we add 2 pi to it. Okay, if we add 2 pi to 7 pi on 6, it's the same as adding, let's just make a quick calculation, 2 pi is the same as 12 pi on 6. So we're doing 7 pi on 6 plus 12 pi on 6, which is 19 pi on 6. Okay, and in a similar way you can leapfrog this one as well. So by adding 2 pi to it. So when you add 2 pi to 11 pi on 6, you get 23 pi on 6. Okay. Now, you can go forwards like this. So you can go to the right if you want to. You can also go back to the left, and we should. So let's just get a couple of answers to the left here by subtracting 2 pi from that one. So if we subtract 2 pi from 11 pi on 6, we're doing 11 pi on 6 minus 12 pi on 6, which is minus pi on 6. And if we're going to subtract 2 pi from 7 pi on 6, 7 pi on 6 minus 12 pi on 6 is minus 5 pi on 6. Okay. Now, why are we doing this? What are we doing? Well, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find all the solutions that fit within the range up the top here. Okay. So let's look at the right first. The first two solutions that you get, the 7 pi on 6 and 11 pi on 6, those two solutions you always get two solutions between 0 and 2 pi. Okay. What we need to do is we need to keep adding solutions until we get outside of this range. Okay. So for example, 11 pi on 6 is inside the range. 19 pi on 6 is just over 3 pi, so it's not within the range. So, and neither is 23 pi on 6, so we don't want those answers included. Moving to the left, minus pi on 6, is that in the range? Yes, it is. Minus 5 pi on 6, is that in the range? Yes, it is. Okay, and so we obviously need to keep getting more solutions. So let's subtract 2 pi from minus pi on 6 and see what we get. Subtract 2 pi. And so minus 12 pi on 6, minus pi on 6, minus 12 pi on 6 is minus 13 pi on 6. Is that within the range minus 2 pi to 3 pi? And the answer to that is no, it's just outside the range. Okay, so in other words, what we're left with is just four answers. Minus 5 pi on 6, minus pi on 6, 7 pi on 6, and 11 pi on 6. Okay, that's your final answer. It's probably worth having a look at what this looks like on a graph. So if we move all of that up and clear it a bit, we've got our answers, our four answers here. So what do these four answers look like on a graph? Okay, so let's picture it on a graph. A nice big one. Now we know what sine theta looks like. We've drawn that a couple of times now. And we saw in the last question that if this was minus a half here, that the two answers that we got, these first two answers that we got here, 7 pi on 6 and 11 pi on 6. So we saw that last time, but now let's take into account the range. If this is going from minus 2 pi to 3 pi, then we'll need to extend that one out there because the original period was 2 pi. So if you want to go to 3 pi, you've got to add half a cycle, which is just that lump. Remember, this is pi. Okay. If we want to draw it back to minus 2 pi, then how far back do we have to draw? Well, we have to draw back exactly one cycle. So let's go back. Exactly one cycle like that. So that'll be minus 2 pi, and that'll be pi. Okay. The drawing doesn't have to be perfect. You can see my handwriting is not that neat. It doesn't need to be as long as you've got the concepts. Okay, and the reason for drawing this back is because now we can see what these other two answers refer to. Okay, the minus 5 pi on 6 is this solution, and the minus pi on 6 is this solution. This point where the graph has a height of minus a half. Okay. Again, you didn't need to draw this graph. I'm just showing it so that you can understand why there are four solutions, and importantly, why is there a distance of 2 pi between solutions? There's a distance of 2 pi between these two solutions. That's because there's a distance of 2 pi between these two solutions. And the distance of 2 pi between these is the same as the distance of 2 pi between these, because of course sine is 2 pi periodic. It repeats itself every 2 pi. Okay, so that's a medium level example.